This video is sponsored by Skillshare. How's it going, folks? I'm Des with DesFit, and this video is going to be a little bit different than what I usually do. I usually talk about sports tech and all the fun gadgets that we can use to track our fitness and health, but today I wanted to get a little bit more personal and talk about what it's actually like being a YouTube content creator in the sports tech space, as well as what I've learned over the last 4 or so years that I've been doing this. Now, I'm not a YouTube expert by any stretch of the imagination, but I have been fortunate enough to experience some steady growth in the channel, and there have been some very specific things I've done to grow the channel. And I've actually had a few up-and-coming YouTube content creators reach out to me lately asking for advice on a few different topics, so I thought it'd be fun to do this video and share some tips and tricks, as well as what I've learned through the many mistakes that I've made over the years. So the biggest thing that I've learned about YouTube is that making a good video is kind of hard, especially in the sports tech space, because that involves the research, the testing, writing the content, all the production, including the filming, then there's all the editing, and then there's all the stuff that happens after publishing the video. In terms of the research, well, there's so many different products out there from so many different manufacturers, and all of them have just tons of features. So I kind of have to pick and choose which devices I want to cover, and I generally cover devices that I'm personally interested in, which kind of filters that down to a more manageable list. And then when it comes to a specific device, I've learned that the devil really is in the details, because the feature list and the specs list on all these devices are getting so long now that I really want to make sure that all my information I'm putting out is going to be correct. So I spend a lot of time with research. And when it comes to testing, this is generally where I spend the most of my time, where I like to test the device for about 2 to 3 weeks before publishing an in-depth review, just because, first of all, I want to test it with a whole bunch of different types of activities. And second of all, I also want to make sure that the results I'm seeing are going to be consistent. And those are whether they're going to be good results or bad results. And then after all the research and testing is done, it's time to figure out what to exactly say. And this brings us to content. And I definitely believe that content is king. And I do think it's a bit more than just listing off every single feature on the device, because the viewer can already do that just by going to the manufacturer's website and reading the spec sheet. It's more about explaining those features and how they can actually benefit the viewer, as well as how that device compares to other competition in the marketplace. But it's kind of funny. Content can sort of write itself sometimes, where if a device is a hot piece of garbage, those scripts just generally just kind of flow. Next up is production quality. This is by far the area where I've had to learn a lot. So this includes the camera, the lighting, as well as the audio. In terms of the camera, well, I can have the nicest camera out there with the nicest image quality, but if my lighting sucks, well, it's only going to emphasize that my lighting was terrible. And then when it comes to audio, this is the area where I still have so much more to learn. So it's kind of funny. I actually have I have 3 sources of audio that I record during a video, because I inevitably screw something up where one microphone may have some crackling to it, one may have some interference. I'm just really paranoid just because of how many times I've actually screwed this up. And then you probably heard this before, is that your image quality can be absolutely fantastic that comes out of your camera. It can be absolutely pristine, but if your audio is not good, your audience probably won't listen and will probably turn off the video. Now, one resource I do wish I had when I first started my YouTube channel, which would have helped prevent a lot of the mistakes I made, is Skillshare, which is the sponsor of today's video. Skillshare is an online learning community with tons of courses for creatives just like you and me, where you can learn all about how to get started creating a YouTube channel, as well as providing tons of help along the way as you grow. An absolutely fantastic course is by the one and only MKBHD, where he goes into the entire process of writing, shooting, and editing a video. This course covers everything from researching your topic and writing your script, the best ways to hook your audience, filming and editing, all the way to publishing your video and growing your channel. Basically, all the stuff I wish I knew before starting a YouTube channel, and just this one course by MKBHD can give you a great guide about being a YouTube creator. And there are so many more things that you can learn on Skillshare, like photography, illustration, graphic design, web development, and even tips on productivity. Anyhow, the first 1,000 people to use the link in my description below will get a free trial of the Skillshare Premium membership. And after that, it's only around $10 a month. So check out the link below to get started. And you may have noticed that I don't publish a ton of videos, but I just try to make sure that every video I publish has a lot of information, and it's of the level of quality work that I'm going to be pleased with. So it's probably one of those like quality versus quantity sort of things. And in regards to quality, you definitely do need to stay consistent with your uploads. I'm definitely guilty of not being super consistent, but if you are uploading 3 videos a week, well, that's what your audience may expect, is 3 videos a week. So just make sure that the number of videos that you're trying to upload is going to be sustainable over a long term, because these things definitely do take some time, and life does sometimes get in the way. The next thing I learned about YouTube is that it takes a considerable amount of views to make any meaningful amount of money, and it's definitely not all about the money. For me, I started YouTube as kind of a passion project just because I thought it was going to be fun. It was going to be a good creative outlet. Plus, it was a growing experience just because it's very uncomfortable for me to get in front of the camera, and it's still uncomfortable to this day. I think a lot of folks, when they first start a YouTube channel, and this included myself at the time, is that you may focus on that 1,000 subscriber mark because that's when YouTube allows monetization on your channel. But it was kind of a harsh reality when I reached that 1,000 subscriber mark because I just saw pennies rolling in from the hundreds or maybe even just a couple thousand video views that I was getting. So if you just focus on your content, the views will come, the subscribers will come. So just put out good information with a really good story and it'll just should all fall into place. But the number one thing I learned about YouTube is that there's such an amazing community of people out there that are really into sports and fitness tech. So when I first started my YouTube channel, I thought it was just about putting out a good video, but I had no idea about getting to interact with like-minded individuals just like you that are just as stoked about this sort of stuff like I am. I love seeing all the comments and I try to answer as many questions as I can, so definitely keep those coming. And I definitely love meeting some of you in real life. And maybe when all this craziness is over, I can organize a meetup. But the other portion of that community aspect are other YouTube creators in the sports tech space. And there's two creators that I've been watching a lot of lately. So one of them is going to be Matt Legrand. So his production quality is just second to none. And he puts out some amazing information. And then there's also some videos that are absolutely hilarious. So I definitely encourage you to check out his channel. The other channel I've been watching a lot of lately is called The Quantified Scientist, and if you think DC Rainmaker and I go into a lot of detail in my reviews, well, you also need to check out Rob's channel. So I like to test things really thoroughly from an athlete's perspective, but Rob tests things really thoroughly from a scientific perspective. So if you like really nerding out on these sort of devices, I definitely encourage you checking out his channel, and I'll have both Matt's as well as Rob's channel linked down in the description below. And one last thing that I have learned from YouTube, and this does relate to community, is that you can make some really good friends on YouTube because, again, we're talking about a community of like-minded individuals. So without YouTube, I would have never met DC Rainmaker as well as GP Llama, who have become really close friends. And we don't consider ourselves competition, by the way. We consider ourselves friends in a community. Well, okay, we do consider ourselves competition only when we're doing step challenges. So those are all the things that I've learned so far in my YouTube journey, and I've still got plenty to learn, but I hope some of those things can help some of you up and coming YouTube creators. Now I got to get back to writing another script for the next video, but in the meantime, go have fun out there, and we will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.